Hey everybody, my name is Angie Murenga. You're watching Just Angie. It's another amazing Thursday. I have a new guest and I'm so excited about Olyvia being here. So I'm on set with Olyvia Kahuthu Kimathi.
Yes.
Welcome, my dear.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad to see you here.
Oh, me too.
You know, the things of God are just amazing. You know, when I think about when I met you, never thinking that we'd be here on this journey,
Yes.
but there's so much to talk about, you know. Recently married. How long have you been married now?
Yes, it's almost 8 months now.
My goodness, months.
Yes.
It's amazing. And I loved your wedding as well.
Oh,
really
thank
amazing.
you.
Felt the presence of God. And just, so we're going to talk about that as well. And then your journey, because I met you when you were at Kubamba. I think
Yes.
that's when I met you.
Yeah.
And you were doing something called Supergirl.
Supergirl Code.
Supergirl Code. My
Yes.
goodness. Wow. So maybe you can just walk us through the journey of who Olyvia is, evolving to Olyvia. I know my takeout is about the blogging. I really want to know about why you started blogging, but maybe first tell us who's Olyvia?
All right. Well, Olyvia is 27. Well, I'll be 27 this Friday.
Wow. Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you. I grew up in a family of 3 girls. I'm the first one.
Oh.
Yes, very close-knit family. My mom and dad have always been very close to us and brought us up in the ways of the Lord. And so I got born again when I was like maybe 7. Yes, and I always just knew church. And so everything that I did, I involved God. Yes, and so from an early age, I knew I wanted to be a journalist because I enjoyed writing so much.
Really?
Yes, compositions were my favorite in school. Yeah, so I just trusted God with that, and I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. And so I got to university. I studied journalism, majored in print journalism, and then I began to work in the media. That lasted like maybe 3 months.
Really?
Yes, and I was like, no, there has to be more to life.
Already
Like,
in 3 months,
yes.
Olyvia?
In 3 months, I
Wow.
was like, no, I need to make a difference somehow. I
Yes.
felt like I was just working for the money.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I need something more.
There was no impact.
There was no impact.
No societal change.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so I began to pray. And I was like, Lord, what can I do with my life that will give me fulfillment? And then I was serving in church then. I was a youth leader and I loved it. And I was like, if there was a way this could be my career, I'd be set. So now I started to explore the options. I'd never heard of full-time ministry. I didn't know people actually did it for a living. And so I began to meet different people who would tell me, oh, I'm a missionary, oh, I'm working with this organization. And I was like, that's so cool. I want to do that. And so I got involved with a ministry called Life Ministry Kenya.
Okay.
Yes, did my internship there, got to learn everything about what a missionary life looks like.
Wow.
Yes. And then that's where the journey began. I began to serve. I served with them for almost 2 years, and then I moved to Kubamba.
And was still Life Ministry? Was it still youth?
Yes.
Targeted
I was
to the youth.
focusing on high school and a few campus students.
Wow.
Yes.
And did you find your fulfillment?
I did. 100%. I was
Wow.
like, this is it.
This is what I want to do.
Yes.
And the conversation with your parents, because that might be something people ask about. Like, here you are, they've taken you to school, they've paid all this money, although this is what parents do. But don't they want you to work in a regular job? What was their reaction?
Well, for my mom, she was super on it. She was like, yes, if you feel like God is leading you that way, let's go for it. And she was so supportive. Dad was confused. He was like, okay, full-time ministry, what does that mean? And how will you make your money? That was his only concern. He's like, is there money in this? And at Life Ministry, we used to raise support.
Oh,
and
like
he could
us.
not understand that concept. He's like, okay, so you go and preach and do all these things, then you come ask people for money. I was like, Dad, let's have a conversation. So I just explained to him, first of all, it's God who provides.
Yes.
And he can use people. So I told him I'm not fulfilled working in the journalism field. I want to explore this. And he was like, okay, fine. Can you have a business on the side? Can I open a business for you? And I was like, for now, no, let me just focus on ministry, see where it goes, and then we'll see after that. So he was like, okay, fine. You're lucky, you're young, you don't have kids or anything, so fine, go for it. And from there, he was so supportive.
That's amazing. So how was it? 2 years in life ministry. How long were you at Kubamba?
At Kubamba, I was there for about a year.
Okay.
Before I left for Bible school.
Yes, because you went to Dallas, I remember. Was it Dallas?
Houston.
Houston, Texas. I remember it was somewhere in Texas.
Yes.
So why then now? So now you've done it for 3 years. You're impacting the youth. And by the way, I was going to ask, are you using your journalism, or is it more vocal skills?
Well, it's a lot of vocal skills, but I have used my journalism skills in my personal life, because I've been journaling since 2015. I journal every day. I write everything that's happening in my life. I talk to God, and that's how I'm able to share my story with such detail, because I just go back to my journals.
Because it's all written out there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And people journal different things. Like I have very many journals, but I journal when I feel like God is trying to say something to me, or am I reading something or watching something, and then I'm getting what's not being said. I loved one teacher that I had, Pastor Vincent, a big shout out to you. He taught me in Bible school to listen, or to listen for what's not being said. So whenever I look at something, I now paraphrase it in my head, what's not being said, or what is not obviously being said, but it's being spoken to me. So that's when I will journal. So I also have a lot of journals, but on different things, on whether I was reading an article on Elijah's List and this is what I got the takeout from, or was I watching somebody preaching and this is my takeout, or then some of it is about my day, but just a really different mix of journals. But I have so many of them, I keep feeling I need to consolidate them. So you've been journaling, and that's why you're able to blog.
Yes.
So take me on the journey of Bible school before we go into the blogging.
All right. In 2016, while I was at Kubamba, I began to feel this urge to just go back to school. I was like, yes, I've been trained. Like ministry was awesome. I learned so much. And then I also learned a lot on the job. But I was like, I need something deeper. And every time I thought about it, I would think Houston, Texas. And I was like,
why Houston, Texas?
I know. I couldn't figure out why. I have family there, but I had never been there. I was like, okay, let's see what they have to offer. So I began to look for schools, and they were so expensive. I was like, okay, God, I'll just look. I'll write down what I find, and then you lead me. And that was in January of 2016. And then I think it was the next month or 2 months later, we got interns at Kubamba. And they were from Houston, Texas.
You can't be serious.
So I was like,
come on.
Okay. This is interesting.
Really?
Yeah. But usually I'm not one to go and just start talking to people on the first day, and I just wait. So I didn't really try and be close to them in any way. But I knew there was something there. Because
God had already said Houston, Texas.
Exactly.
Thank God for the Lord God Almighty and saying, so he had said Houston, Texas.
He had.
And then in come the people from Houston, Texas.
Yes. And I was a team leader at the time. And so we were going on a mission one weekend. And both the interns were put on my team.
Wow. Without any lobbying,
nothing.
No jostling. Reminds me of Joel chapter 2. I love it. That no jostling, no breaking ranks. We move this way and then God will do it for you. Amazing.
Yes. So we go on the mission, and while we were there, I got to talk to them. Obviously, they're part of my team. I get to interact with everyone, and we realized we had so much in common. We were like sisters.
Were they girls?
Yeah, they were girls.
Wow.
And they were sisters. So it was so interesting. We loved the same music. We grew up in like the same way.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were like,
this is crazy. And they've grown up in Houston and you in Nairobi.
Yes.
Wow.
So it was interesting. We enjoyed our time there. It was just a short mission, like I think 2 days, and then we came back. And then after that, we went on a long-term mission for about 24 days, and they were put on my team again.
Wow.
And now we're in the village somewhere with no internet, no electricity, so we have to bond.
You have to talk
as a team. Yes, and we got so close. In those 3.5 weeks, we became inseparable. And one of them was getting married that year in October, and she was like, Olyvia, you have to come to my wedding. And I was like, well, Houston is not next door, But I was like, I would love to be at your wedding. And you know what? I'm going to put my faith on it and I'm going to be at your wedding. And she was like, okay. So I did the math. I was like, this is how much I'd need. With my salary, I'd be able to cover like the travel costs. But then that's it. And so I was like, okay, maybe I can talk to my parents and probably they'll just give me money for upkeep for while I'm there. Yeah, I think it'll work. And so I was so excited. I was like, I can't wait to tell my mom, because now I began to see it. I was like, this is gonna happen.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And then a few days later, my mom calls me. We weren't talking too much because there was no network, like we were in the bundus. So I talked to my mom and she's like, oh, by the way, how many leave days do you have this year? And I was like, about 21, I think. And she's like, okay, have you taken any of your days? I was like, no, not yet. She's like, okay, please save them for September. So I was like, okay, why? She's like, I've just been feeling that we need to take a family trip. And I was like, oh, okay, where to? She's like, I think we should go visit my brother in Houston.
No. Even me, I've got like, goosebumps. Olivia, no. Olivia,
you actually
no.
said that.
Olivia.
Yes.
What?
I was like, Mom, what did you just say? And she said, yeah, let's go to Houston and visit my brother. And I was like, okay. You said September? She's like, yes. And I was like, okay. I was actually going to tell you that my friend's wedding is on October 1st and I wanted to go. She's like, that's perfect. We can work out the dates. I was Olivia,
like, this is stranger than fiction. This is stranger.
Yeah.
It's taken me aback, number one, because that's what happens. I always tell people, lessons that I've learned, serving unlocks potential. It just does, yeah?
Amen.
It really does, you know? Yeah. It unlocks things for us that we cannot imagine. And for you, this is tangible, but there are also very many intangible blessings that come from serving God. Thank God for you, because you must have been very young. I don't know how old you were now at that time making those decisions, but it's amazing that you heard God and that you took him at his word. That's what he says, take me at his word, and you ran with that word. I can't believe the way everything is just falling into place. But you did say you prayed and God heard your prayer. And I want you to hold that thought, because this is crazy. But it's crazy good. I love these kind of stories and these kind of testimonies, because they show us that God is real.
Indeed he is.
God bless you. See you next week, where we continue our story with Olyvia. Bye.